Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. Hey everybody, it's about 20 after 4 on the afternoon of Sunday, January the 12th. I am Joey Only, the Caribou Weather Dude, up here in Wells, British Columbia, 3,135 feet above sea level, 53 degrees north. We are here to talk about all the bad news today on the show. Where is winter going next? So I know you want to know about LA fires, so I know we can give you some weather updates that'll help predict what may happen in the coming days. Sure, we'll get there. Things are pretty steady going and warm for BC. Southern BC, especially this week. Northern BC taking a lot more snow. Southern BC kind of getting a miss on most of the big snow stories going on. We got extreme cold. That's going to break out across North America in multiple waves. A lot's got to be said about that. We could be seeing we could see winter weather down to Mexico. Not this week, but the week after, I think. That's possible. If that happens, we could be seeing big-time snowstorms in southern Texas. I'm not kidding you. Things are about to get even weirder on the Bad News Show. Let's go. There it is. This is Bad News.
My God. Fall out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later. They dry mopping this. As we start out looking at the big picture, we see a series of lows there out in the Pacific, North Pacific. And if we take the altitude measurer here and we go up a little higher, we start to see that these are following a jet streak, a very strong jet stream that's going right there. Bam. Oh, no, that's too high. That's the polar cap. There you go. There's our jet stream, more or less at 250 HPA, hectopascals. And you can see we got some strong flows down the Rocky Mountains. There's some cold weather delivery systems out of the Arctic. The BC, though, we seem to be sitting in this nice pocket where we're not taking it from the cold the way that the prairies are going to be in, well, most of the continent coming up. You know, we got some cold nights, I think, next week, but this week we're looking at a lot of above zero temperatures during the daytime in southern British Columbia, and you can see how that flow of air is bringing warmer temperatures up from the south to BC. Speaking of wind, so I know everyone wants to talk about the thing going on here. So one thing to note is that we have right now temperature setups, well, maybe marginally improved, but not really. Cold air down in Nevada. That cold air is helping in the desert. Well, the cold air is chasing the warm. It's creating wind, and that wind is drawing and heating as it gets towards Los Angeles, where even at this time of day still, of course, the sun is starting to go down there. We're looking at 19s, 17s, 14 degrees temperature around the greater Los Angeles areas. Ignore those minus ones. I don't know what that's about. That must be mountaintops. Yes, those are big mountains. Right, so forgive me. I'm not an American, so these are all new things to me. But you look up and down where winds are right now, not too bad this afternoon. Things just seem to have calmed down. We got some 67s at Browns Canyon, some stronger up in the mountains there. So we're getting a little bit of a break. But if we look at wind gusts down there over the next few days, we do see a habit of there still being these strong winds showing up. And that's because, once again, as I say, we got that cold air chasing down. It's creating wind, right? So we have a lot of Arctic outflow through the continent, and that's helping make wind through the desert there. So we see Monday again, high chance of strong winds through parts of LA. Hopefully, that's where some of these fires are. We'll look at where some of these fires are in a few minutes, but strong winds through Tuesday. And I think we're going to have, the story's not going to end anytime soon. I hope they get some progress on this, but we really have a lot of windy conditions. And we're going to take those windy conditions and we're going to pair that now with humidex values. So here we are at 4 o'clock and we're still seeing 19 degrees and 15 degrees down there. So we're still at crossover fire weather conditions where the humidity is exceedingly low. It's desert dry low coming out of that desert. So there's no moisture in that air, and fire loves to eat air that is dry. Of course, it doesn't want to eat air that is wet. So when you put humidity into the air, that's why right now in BC, and you know this, if I went out there and tried to start a fire in the forest right now, would I be able to burn thousands of hectares down? No. There's some low humidity maybe showing up in the Chilcotin right now, 32%. But, you compare that with cold temperatures. You don't have fire conditions that are very conducive in British Columbia right now, and that's why we don't see those kinds of things in the winter in BC, besides the fact there's snow on the ground and on and on. So you look at some of these humidex values over the coming days, and a lot of them are pretty gnarly. So you got strong winds, fairly warm temperatures, 21 in Los Angeles on Wednesday, 16% humidex in the hills there, 34 at night. So even at nighttime, very low humidity. You're not getting any recovery from dew point at night. So this is going to continue on for a while. These fires aren't going to stop. And these are predictable things that we've been telling you about on the meteorological report 2 weeks ago. Mark Ingalls brought up, I think we have Santa Ana wind event coming. Oh, let's look at that. So, a week before the fires, meteorologists, weather people, fire people, we were all talking about it. We all knew that this was a possibility. So don't go blaming it. Even if there was an arson, which I've not been convinced yet there was, it wouldn't matter because you go and make an arson in the British Columbia forest right now, you're not going to have 10,000 hectares burn in a couple days. It's not going to rush through and burn down entire towns. It's not capable of doing that, even if there's no snow on the ground, because you need to have dry ground, you need to have dry air, you need to have, wind really helps. Those 150-kilometer-hour winds they had last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, that sure pushed those fires, right? And they had very wet conditions there last year, and those wet conditions, really heavy rains in the hills around Los Angeles, some of the record breakers even, I think, that helped encourage fast-growing desert plants that are now very dry. Those forest fuels are burning. So here we are in Firms. We'll bring you up to date a little bit on what's been going on there today. So yeah, some fire activity today, a little bit. Looking pretty quiet compared to what we've been seeing. So that's nice. Definitely some hot spots there. But we got with those winds, the problem is any amount of hot spots is not good, right? So let's just have a look at the simple and see what we got for today. So yeah, had hot spots looking just near Mountain Gate Country Club. Hot spots near just north of Mandeville Open Space. That's fairly deep in the hills there. But if these winds blow this way, some of these areas, if they're not tackled, I know they've been hitting it hard with retardant and putting lines in and trying to make control lines. So, they may get some success before it can get over these mountains and come down towards Topanga and some of these towns over there. As you can see, Palisades in these areas completely destroyed so far. You get a good look at what all has gone up so far, and it's almost made it to Malibu this week. But pretty quiet today. All in all, I think that's nice to see. Eaton Lake Fire, fairly quiet on it too. So the Eaton Fire, Altadena there, where a lot of Altadena burned. I think this Altadena neighborhood has got more communities that are normies like you and me, whereas that is not the case at all over here, where Mel Gibson lost his $14.5 million home, and he's blaming it on the Jews, and he's blaming it on space lasers, he's blaming it on the liberals. James Woods too. Some of these people, I don't know. So that answers that question first. Now you're looking at temperatures in BC, and we're looking at afternoon temperatures just to get us a nice idea. But over in the Alberta side and up into the Peace, we're looking at 2 degrees. But even in the Caribou and places like that, even down Kelowna, seeing 3 degrees. At nighttime, not looking extremely cold. No, Prince George up to 0. Fort St. John probably above 0 at night, up to 5 degrees in Grand Prairie and Fort St. John on Tuesday. Fort Nelson even quite warm. Now you want to see something really crazy, we'll take the altitude thing and we'll go up in the altitude again, and we'll see what's temperature like when you go a little bit higher. And that gives you that illustration I was telling you about of those warmer Pacific flow that's coming to us. Even though that jet stream is really pushing weather up to Alaska, we're getting the fallout of nicer conditions in British Columbia because of it. Even at the upper levels, it is quite warm out there this week. So very unusually warm. I know we're supposed to get January thaws, they call them, but this might see some temperatures records broken in places that aren't used to seeing above 0. I don't think Fort Nelson sees a lot of January thaws the way that you typically do in southern British Columbia. I can think of a lot of winters where here in Wells, we don't get January thaws. So we're looking at and we'll come back and look at these low pressure systems and look at where snow is going. But I really want to hit on cold here for a minute and just watch how this cold is spilling down into the weekend. Now we have extreme cold. So I think we have a little bit of a situation coming this week where, again, Fort Nelson's going to dive down to 26 below or colder, more or less, by the time we hit Saturday night. You're going to have these cold weather affecting northern British Columbia, but less so in southern BC. Of course, it will bring our temperature down on the whole. It would be something if we have minus 15s this weekend in southern British Columbia. We'll see. about that. We'll see if this temperature still gets beaten back further. We'll see if these numbers change. Now, we're looking at ECMWF simply because I find it to be the most reliable across the board. Like, if there's something big coming up, even if there's another model that hits it better, ECMWF won't miss it. That's what I've found with my experience of watching weather in BC. Whereas the GFS, the Gives False Snow model, twice already it's been wrong about cold temperatures here in this part of BC. The GFS twice told me it was going to get to minus 25 to 30 in Wells, and then that evaporated. And I sat here saying to you all on the channel, I'm skeptical on that. I think we got a strong Pacific flow, and it's been hard to know when that dynamic will change. However, in this case, GFS would have us warmer this weekend. So there's some disagreement there. And this time, I'm more inclined to agree with the GFS, at least for now. But, they both seem to think that cold air is breaking out. GFS has even colder in some places. And now look what it's going to do. Look, we got all the way down to Mexico, freezing temperatures at night especially, and into next week, Tuesday, Monday. Now we're a ways out. But if this breaks out, we're going to see extreme things happen. We're going to see snowstorms across parts of the states that don't regularly see snowstorms. Texas, southern Texas, maybe even freezing rain in Mexico and things like that. This will be a pretty big story, man. This is going to be a huge story if this manifests. And the likelihood of it, do both models seem to think so? Well, GFS is ahead. It says, well, this cyclone forms and takes off. So maybe there you don't agree on the timing and the date. And seems like ECMWF thinks it's a bigger story inland than GFS does. Now, if these temperatures work out the way ECMWF is saying, well, yeah, that's what you're going to see. Cold air going right down to Mexico early next week. And then that cold air moving into eastern Canada, minus 21s in northern Ontario. Even Ottawa is going to be down to minus 24 and things like that at night when you get into this stretch of cold weather. So that is looking long range out. All in all, we're not seeing extremely cold weather. Now let's have a look where the snow and everything is going this week here. So there's that jet stream pulling these storms straight up to the Alaska Panhandle like we've been seeing them do, as we talked about at the beginning of the episode. And that is at times making snow into Yukon, at times into the northern BC mountains, at times hitting the mid-coast, hitting into areas like Kitimat and Terrace. So we could see heavier snow for you on Tuesday morning. For the rest of BC, though, look at Vernon, Williams Lake. I mean, it's concerning to me. I know that the BC River Forecast Center is saying that across the board, we are now at about 80% of our snowpack where it should be. So it's not near as bad as last year. Last year was insane. But to me, that's not good. Like, I don't think we have near the snow that we should have here in Wells. So, yeah, we're looking at rounds of weather up the coast. Terrace, you're going to be taking some of that. Haida Gwaii, you're going to be taking some of that. Some stronger winds there on Wednesday for you afternoon. You're going to be taking some of that. Up along the coast. Looks like several rounds of rain, but even Prince George seems to be mostly immune from getting it. Now, we are going to come back tomorrow and look at this because maybe later in the week some of this will spill south as that cold air starts to force its way down. And maybe by Thursday or Friday we could start seeing some snow in BC. But I think for the first half of this week, no, we're not seeing it. And that's, a round that goes through. It's not like we're entering a period of snowstorms in central BC. No, it doesn't seem like that. Seems like we got 24 hours where something may go through into southern BC, maybe starting Wednesday overnight into Thursday morning. If we were to believe in the ECMWF modeling, in a lot of cases not significant. Maybe this week we'll see some in the Coquihalla. That will make for some messy driving, maybe a little bit up through the coast mountains. But this isn't, these aren't, it's much like the storm that we just had go through on Friday. People seem to think it was going to be a really big deal storm. And, for Friday, it did hammer pretty good, but it wasn't like, it was like a round went through, a band went through, and then it was more or less done. 3.2 centimeters, so nothing crazy. Maybe the Caribou Mountains here is where we're going to see a little more of that. Go over to Terrace and look, yeah, they're getting absolutely hammered this week. So prepare yourself on the north coast. Southern BC, I don't know. So far, nothing's showing to me like we're going to be taking anything directly on the chin. Seems to me that jet stream is going to really push things up towards that Alaska Panhandle. High pressure is going to settle in. That will make for an interaction between some moisture and some cold. We'll probably see some snow before that. But then we're going to eventually get into colder and colder temperatures by the time we hit next weekend. And when we do, you know what happens when you get too cold. You're sitting in the cold. You're not sitting in the storm. It's the contact where the cold meets the warm where you're going to see most of that weather manifest during a cold weather outbreak, right? So not looking crazy for us in BC. Some temperatures may get cold. I don't think we'll complain when it's minus 35 in Regina, and it's only minus 10 where you live or whatever. So we'll take you out today with a quick look at the bad news battle board. Looks like a wind warning up there into Whitehorse. We do this, the only warning in BC right now. And click on this little guy for snowfall warning for the South Klondike Highway and the White Pass. Near 20 centimeters could happen there by Monday afternoon. And you've already got kind of a picture in your mind from what I've shown you of how that's going to work. Over here we have the extreme cold warning, wind chill values minus 45 tonight and Monday. That will moderate eventually. Yes, but not for long. It will come back cold to you again. There's going to be a very extreme cold coming to you in the prairies. So, when you take your break here in a couple days and it warms up a little, enjoy it because it won't last for too long. You're going to get that next round really, really pounded down. And I think in the mid-30s is completely reasonable for places like Regina. And that's not wind chill values. That's just straight temperature for them down there. So we're concerned about the extreme cold warning in those areas for Saskatchewan right now. Must be terrible for you. Over by Thunder Bay, snowfall warning for you guys, 2 to 5 centimeters per hour. Could have up to 25 centimeters. This could continue until Monday morning. And then the never-ending snow squalls and snow flurries, and that continues for Ontario, 10 to 20 centimeters up there by Sault Ste. Marie on the Bruce Peninsula, 15 to 25 centimeters. Crazy Parry Sound, Bracebridge, where that lower shield meets, 20 to 40 centimeters possible there beginning Monday afternoon. So we'll see if those get upgraded to warnings tomorrow. But nasty for Ontario. It never seems to stop. I don't know how much snow is there. It must be stupid. I'm looking at some of these warm temperatures. Some of the warm temperatures have been breaking daily records in BC, I think, over the last week at times, but not in any great number and any notable way. Whereas at least this is seeing a larger stretch of places in the Yukon yesterday, hitting 3.6 in Burwash, 4.3 in Carmax, 1.9 in Faro, 7.4 in Haines Junction. 18 years ago when I was in the Yukon, it never got warmer than minus 18. And I don't recall personally seeing minus 18. I'm just guessing. Warmest I saw was 19. Hey, this guy here's McCandless. He's a California hotshot. He's an officer. And we were out in the Caribou fighting fire together because they come here. I don't like this cartoon that I've been seeing. I know a lot of us in Canada are very incensed that people in America are talking about invading us and annexing us. And we take it seriously. And a lot of us are very, very angry to even hear words like that being spoken. So, yeah, I get that. But I don't like the meme that shows, it's like the meme, or it's a cartoon that shows American military coming into Canada. It says Americans invading Canada. Then it shows Canadian water bombers, and it says Canadians invading USA. And that's not fair. It's not fair because you have beauties like McCandless and his crew who came up and fought fire with us. And he even traded me this Granite Mountain Hot Shots hat there. So I'm hoping that you and your boys are safe, McCandless. First smoke jumper I ever worked with, so I wanted to get a... Right on, Mitch. You're a beauty.
You too, brother.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Because some of you American hotshots are some of the best people I ever met. You're up there. A lot of firefighters are. These are really good people. Really good people. I know you're trying your best no matter what. No matter what your politics are, no matter where you're from. We are firefighters, and these guys are beauties. These are American California hotshots. They came here. They came here to help us. The least we can do is return the favor. Guys like Clay, beauties. I've seen Colorado hotshots. I've been with guys from New Mexico. I've been with guys from Idaho. I've been with Americans from all over the place. And I've learned a lot about how they fight fire and what the situation is like for them. I've had officers from the southern United States come up to me and say, well, how do you work these pumps? And the first time I was like, you don't know how to work a pump? Like, you're an officer, you're firefighting? What? It just blew my mind. And he said, there's no water where I live. I was like, oh, you're from New Mexico. Yeah, of course you've never started a pump. All they got there is trucks, tools, and backburning, and bulldozers, right? So these guys are like, they're hardcore. They don't even have pumps and water to work with half the time. Now, what I know from my friends down there is that there was no shortage of access to water and no shortage of water in the reservoirs in Los Angeles. But when you open up all the hydrants at once, you don't have water pressure, and you don't have water pressure, you can't very well fight a blaze. And I watched a lot of videos of guys putting water on buildings, and I said, why are you even trying? I know it looks good for the public, but you're just breathing in toxic air. Get the hell out of there, man. Like, there's nothing you can do. Nothing was stopping those fires. They didn't have the water pressure, and the wind was ripping, and things were going, and all you can do is get everybody and everything out, right? Something else do you want to speak to? You got these guys like Mel Gibson who are basically extremists, complete racists, and conspiracy theory lunatics, whose $14.5 million house burned down. And it's easy to laugh at a neighborhood like Palisades where the average home value is over $3.5 million. I mean, this is an expensive neighborhood that burned down. Altameda is not the same thing. Altameda is, like I said, more normies like you and me. However, so you talked, I've made a lot of jokes about this, because this to me is kind of funny. I mean, I have a bit of a hard attitude about fire. I might joke about how some of those rich guys lost their houses, and make memes about it. But when it comes to being a firefighter and there's a fire and they say, we need your crew, I say, right on. Go protect Mel Gibson's house. I say, sure, because fire is my enemy and I love battle and I like to go towards it and get after it, feel good about it. I don't care what it is that's burning. It's like, it's battle time. It's time to go. I'm a soldier in the fire war. That's what I do. Doesn't matter who in BC's house is burning down. If I get sent there to help make brake lines, put down hot spots to protect the place, that's what I'm going to do. It's what I believe in, right? Because if you let that fire get out of control and run, even if you have a personal beef with your neighbor whose house is on fire, yeah, screw that guy. That's what you get. But then your house burns down too, right? It's like you don't just let fire run amok. And if you're trying to tell me that this isn't a climate change thing, you're full of shit. Okay? Straight up. There's more heat in the system. You can't have, back in October or November, October, you had a hurricane there that went Category 5 faster than any hurricane ever had before back in October, right? It's like that happens in the Gulf. And then you have the worst fire season in Canadian history. Then you have record-setting fires that burn entire places down like Jasper, one after another. Then you have, Scotch Creek or whatever. You keep blaming it on mismanagement. You keep blaming it on this person. Like, how long until you look at the fact that dry air, dry soil, dry trees, dry conditions, big winds lead to fire? And if you have more heat in the system, there's going to be more times that fire manifests. And that's why I've been saying the climate change reality is everything is going to burn. Everything is going to have to burn. It's like, so what's going on right now? The heat makes fire. You won't have a wildfire when it's minus 10 out and it's 40% humidity or whatever. Minus 3 and 40% humidity, I should say. Minus 10, you don't generally have that much humidity, but sometimes you do, right? We got high humidity in BC right now. Cold temperatures, fire doesn't burn in those conditions. These are simple things. These are simple facts of the physics behind the chemical reaction that you know of as fire. Anyways, that's Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. I talked for a long time today. That's a look at everything going on. Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, join the Patreon, become a member, and we'll be back here tomorrow with more in detail depth of British Columbia weather. That's all for today. Bye now. See this? Clay from Utah. I can say push that little button there and it takes pictures. So I get the video clip and the pictures.
Sweet, 2 in 1.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
You're fucking great.
Likewise. Pleasure.